Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
What is the strangest thing you've seen that you cannot explain?
I got one that's not really scary, but just something that has kind of stuck with me since childhood. Be alone with my dog, playing in the woods one day. This was not unusual because I grew up in a rural area, with the neighborhood being made up of family. This was right after the Oklahoma City bombing, so the country was on edge. News keeps repeating they think more attacks could be coming, and they think more terrorists are on the run. None of that was true, but they wouldn't know for sure at the time. Plus, I was a kid. As I'm playing, my dog starts barking crazily. He takes off running and stops at a tree line and is staring and barking. I go a little deeper into the woods near the tree line and look. I see a man and woman walking. They turn around and look for my barking dog. They see my dog and me, and the woman takes a step back and almost trips over a stump. I still have this very vivid memory of that. Her back stepping and putting her hands up like she was scared, and her right foot catching a small stump. The guy grabbed her wrist to make sure she didn't fall. While holding her wrist, he grabs her, and they take off running deeper into the woods. To this day, I'm not sure if she ran voluntarily or was forced. What made me realize it was a big deal at the time was because the road I lived on was surrounded on 3 sides by a river. I lived at the end of the road. The only way they could have been where they were was by crossing a river, and they didn't appear to be wet, or to have hiked all the way in without ever touching the road. Even if they did manage to drive in and go past my house unseen, it still doesn't explain why they took off running back deeper into the woods. Made me realize when I was older, I could have easily been abducted.
A long time ago, a friend of a friend of a friend was a cocaine drug dealer involved with the mob. A violent, unstable addict who still managed to hang around with everybody, mostly because he always had loads of money. I mean, there's people who claim shit like that, but this guy was the real deal. He had done all kinds of shady shit, had half a platinum jaw, but the truth is that you just saw it in his eyes. After some time of being barely acquainted, I get word that he thinks I have ratted him out. Around the same time, some of these friends were throwing a house party, and he was going to be there. I figured this wasn't anything a good face-to-face talk wouldn't clear up, so decided to go there to talk things out. As soon as I show up outside the window at the house, we see each other, and he starts screaming at me to go away. After some shouting back and forth, in which I try to sensibly explain that I wasn't involved and have no idea what he's talking about, his tone gets more and more menacing, and he disappears into the house. The other people in the house tell me the dude is absolutely furious, off his tits on various substances, and it'd probably be best if I left pronto. I turn a corner and walk away. It doesn't take long until one of the people from the party comes running up behind me. He tells me that shit went crazy, and mere seconds after I had turned a corner away from the house, Mr. Mafioso had dashed out with 2 knives and was going to stab me to death. It takes a few moments for me to grasp the reality of what just happened. But I break down on the grass, start crying, and realize how close it was. It was sobering and very scary. After that, I broke off all contact with that circle of people. It turned out someone else with the same first name as me was involved in the snitching. Never heard from those people again after that, or what happened to the real snitch.
Here I go. This happened to me when I was around 10 years old. My storytelling sucks, but bear with me. Be me, annoying boy with annoying friends. Friends and I organize a sleepover at some kid's backyard. The oldest of our group, we'll call him Ed, thinks about scaring the rest by telling them spooky stories. Ed, another kid who we'll call Max, and I try to come up with a spooky story. Max's dad owns a horse. We agreed upon telling a story about a horseman's ghost, kinda like the Headless Horseman, I know. Max's job was to ride the horse at top speed in the street during the story's climax for maximum spooks. The plan was set. Ed and I came up with a story, so we gathered the rest of the kids. There were around 8 kids, us included. Ed began telling the story, asking me for details he claimed to forget in order for it to seem like a real story. It sucked. Kids were just enjoying listening to the story. Max sneaked out to get his horse. We're getting close to the end of the story. Max would wait for our signal. Ed scream. The kids seem to be really spooked by now. Ed screams, but nothing happens. We thought maybe Max didn't hear, so I tried screaming even louder. Nothing. Kids look all confused by our screams, but figured we were trying to scare them. Began returning to other games and stuff. Then it happened. Horse hooves against the pavement, but at a really slow pace, but really loud. All the kids heard and started freaking out. Ed and I were confused because that was not the plan, but okay, as long as it works. Kids start to ask about the sound. They wanted to see. We start walking towards the street. Ed was leading the way. Knowing that it was Max, he had nothing to fear. Then someone touches my shoulder. It's Max. He was all sweaty and breathing like he ran a marathon. I couldn't find Coffee, horse's name. Holy shit, explained to him that we just heard a horse walking in the street. He seems relieved and walks faster, leaving me and Ed behind. Max suddenly stops when reaching the street. We caught up. He's pale, frozen. Then we see. Massive horse, like 2.3 meters tall, black as the night itself. It breathed heavily and walked really slow. The sound its hooves made was so loud. Most kids freaked out and went back to the backyard to hide in the tents. Ed, Max, and me were just frozen, watching the horse. That's not Coffee. Horse stops and just glares at us for a moment before continuing walking. It seemed peaceful, yet we felt like something was really wrong, can't really describe what. We slowly walked back to the yard, looking back in fear. Couldn't sleep, something was wrong. Night became really quiet after that. No bugs, no birds, no wind, not even distant cars or dogs barking. Next morning, we went to Max's to look for Coffee. His father had already found it. It was dead. His dad said it choked on something, but there was blood coming out of its nose and mouth. We told him about the massive horse from last night. Impossible. Coffee is the only horse in miles. So horses can't walk, huh? He explained there are no horses with that description near the area. Asked for details and looked around but never found said horse nor anyone saw it ever again. Max later found massive hoof prints near Coffee's shed. I know it's not spooky/X/stuff, but that's the weirdest thing that has happened to me. R.I.P. Coffee.
My friends and I decided to book an overnight stay at a haunted manor this last December. It was $45 a person, and we were kinda doing it for shits and giggles. The manor was like 30 minutes away from the nearest civilization and had a side house for us to stay in when we weren't inside. We all went in and walked around for a bit, without anything really crazy happening. It was just the usual strange noises and weird vibes you get whenever you're actively trying to make yourself believe a place is haunted. Fast forward an hour or so and we're all in the side house when we decide to take a trip to Casey's to get some snacks and drinks. We get our shit, come back, and we all walk back into the side house. 2 of my friends realized they forgot some shit in the car, and they both went out to get what they left. After 5 minutes, they come back inside and both look shocked. Apparently, as they were walking, They both heard a third footstep in the snow that sounded different from each other's, but didn't mention it to each other until they were back inside. My other friend and I called bullshit and went out to look for a footprint in the snow. A couple of minutes of looking and we found nothing, until I decided to turn around and take one last look towards the manor. I saw a single boot print, no other prints leading to or away from it, and it was a good 4 feet away from the rest of the prints. After I went back and told them what we found, we all went outside and we each took a single step right under where the footprint was at. Not a single one of our shoes looked remotely like the ghost print in size or shoe type. We were completely shocked the rest of the night, but haven't brought it up since. Picture of the footprint. The one on the right is my own. I used to compare it to before we all did.
One of my uncles thought it would be funny to put arm floaties on my ankles and toss me in the water. No matter how hard I tried, the floaties would just pull my feet upward, and when my arms tired, I just sank. I would try to resurface, take big gulps of air, and then hold my breath trying to remove the floaties from my ankles, which were tied together really tight. It took me about 5 minutes of struggling to finally give up, but I decided to give it one last try with all my energy. I tore it along with my skin and was able to stand on one foot and hop towards the shallow area. Completely exhausted, I crawled out, passed out, and inhaled plenty of water. At this point, he grabbed my feet, retied the floaty to my ankle, and picked me up to throw me in the deep end. Before that moment, I had not really given up on living, but in that moment as he was walking my almost limp body towards the deep end, I absolutely knew, that I didn't have the strength to fight it again. I loved my uncle, and he was a young guy playing around. I couldn't talk. I could hardly breathe or lift my arms. I wanted to give him a goodbye hug, but all I could really do was lean my head towards his and cry tears. A silent cry because there was nothing left in me. I said my goodbyes to my family in my head. A stream of memories of all the good times went through my head 100 miles an hour, and I was ready to go. I was terrified but too tired to be scared. I just wanted it over so I could rest. I tried to close my eyes, but they remained open as if in protest. I felt the air engulf my body as I hit the water hard. I floated for a second. My eyes still open and crying, I stared at my uncle's face as I saw his expression change and then look away at someone calling him. I sank like a block of concrete, my feet up on the surface. I could feel the breeze on my wet toes and the blood rushing to my head. The air ran out. Didn't take long this time. The bubbles left my lungs and everything went black. Then someone, I think my mom, dives in after me and pulls me out. After that, I don't really remember. It really messes with me sometimes.
I experienced a reality glitch or something. Still can't explain it. 16 years old. Home alone for a few days because parents taking a mini vacation. Start hearing noises throughout the house. At first, it's just stuff I can shrug off, like something running around in the attic or on the roof. Whatever. Could be a possum or squirrel, but then start hearing the same thing inside the house. Example 1. I'm in the living room on my phone when I hear something scamper from the kitchen to the hallway. Sounds like a cat. That area is perfectly within my field of view, but even though I can hear the movement and can track where it is, I don't see shit. Example 2. I'm at the kitchen table eating breakfast and feel something brush past my leg, then hear footsteps under the table. Sounds like a person's footsteps. I check, but again I see nothing. By this point, I'm getting kinda fed up with it. One night I'm woken up by the closet door opening. Hear footsteps move across the room. Then I see my bedroom door open and close. Scares the shit out of me. But also I'm annoyed by all the activity. I decide, fuck this ghost or whatever it is, and decide to confront it. I get up and open my bedroom door, and that's when I see something that's kinda hard to describe. Firstly, my bedroom door opens out onto a long hallway. From where I'm standing, I can see the bedroom door opposite mine, then the wall of the hallway lined with family photos, and finally the end of the hall leading into the living room. Now, on the wall where the family photos are hanging, I see a hole in the wall that's not supposed to be there. It's large, so I notice it right away, even in the dark, and I'm wondering who punched a hole in my wall. But the thing is, it's a perfect square, like somebody measured it out and cut out a slice of the wall. Then I hear footsteps at the end of the hall and look over expecting to see an animal or something. Instead, I watch as this little sphere rolls from one side of the doorway to the other. It looks like a computer rendering of a ball, like something out of a 90s computer game. Pick related, only the one I saw was black. This was all in the dark, by the way, but I can see both the hole and the sphere clearly, like they're kind of faintly glowing. As the ball disappears past the door frame, I hear my closet door open and shut behind me. I glance back, then look back out into the hallway, and the square hole in the wall is gone. Walk back to bed and lie there for a while. Eventually, I drift off to sleep thinking I'm going crazy. Luckily, I wasn't. I don't think. Nothing like that ever happened again.
Be our family. Adopt a kid from family friend who couldn't handle having a kid at the time. Dope fucking kid, seriously. Always riding his bike, fishing, playing with the neighbors' kids, super charismatic. Literally, nothing bad to say about him. Like, actually oddly in tune with nature. We once had a baby squirrel for a few months because it literally just crawled up to him. Literally catches wild birds and brings them home a few times a year. Obsessed with the deer behind our house. Hangs out with our ducks all the time. Animals fucking love him. Pets, wild animals, all of it. Starts saying some helter-skelter shit almost as soon as he can speak. Some examples. He is around 5, I am around 20, and we are moving out of a house. He is upstairs by himself for a few minutes. Comes downstairs and asks who the old man was in the master bedroom. Note, there are no old people in the house. Literally just us kids and mom. Go up there, get the serious heebie-jeebies. Notice that the attic door is open. Someone probably left it open, but still spooky as shit. Look around. Nothing. No one. We ask him about it, and he is just generally nonplussed. Another time. Be him. We are hanging out in the playroom. He goes out to look at a closet. Hey, my man, what are you doing? I'm trying to see who's laughing. I go look. Of course there's nothing. Get the jeebies and take him out of the room. The most recent. Be us. New house out in the country. He, now 10, goes outside all the time, including the wee hours of the night. We're a homeschooled family, so no bedtime. He's been saying that he sees shadows move in the dark in the trees sometimes. Figure it's deer or something. We have a lot. He says no, these ones are standing up. I get freaked out. Probably important to mention, but our family has a history of ghosts and whatnot. I never believed in it, and still don't. But they think one house we lived in a long time ago was haunted. On one occasion, they heard music, like from a music box, playing from the basement, but it would stop before they got down there. My brother claims he used to see a man in the house on the regular. He was never alone again, homeschooled with a stay-at-home mom. I will say that, and this doesn't contradict my current belief that ghosts aren't real. I had night terrors as a kid and was terrified of the dark, and sometimes I would see little creatures move around the house late at night. I remember one night I was terrified all night watching them and couldn't go to sleep. I am currently convinced that they were just shadows from cars passing by or something, but it felt real at the time. After this, we moved houses and this one giant potted plant that came with the house. Seriously, it was huge and probably weighed around 50 pounds. Was on this sort of alcove high up in a room. It used to randomly just like move. I don't mean turn or anything, just be somewhere else in the house. In the hallway, in the den, somewhere else. And we just had to continually get out the ladder and put it back. Freak my mom out, but nothing bad ever happened. Okay, back to the story. I still assume it's deer and whatnot, or a neighbor's dog. One night we are talking and he tells me he has gone hunting for Bigfoot. I'm like, cool kid, assuming he is emulating Cody Johnson or whatever that nature YouTuber's name is. He talks about it, and I am just enabling him because kids need encouragement sometimes. His twin comes down to chat as well. Not adopted. We just happened to have a kid at around the same time we adopted him. He says he sees them too. I don't let them know I am freaked out, but say, "What the heck? How dare you guys go on adventures without me? If you guys leave me out next time, I'm gonna flip my lid." Really just don't want them getting stolen by whoever is creeping around in our woods. They go out a few weeks later, and him and his twin run in the house after seeing it. Both are super freaked out. Neither are prone to theatrics, making stuff up, or even being scared for that matter. There are a lot more, but I'll keep it to this. Every now and then he'll just casually mention some new weird-ass experience, and I get a little more worried about him.
Be me about 15 years old. Bio-granddad dies after not being around for my dad's life and mine. A few days later, I have an intense, vivid dream that he's staring at me in the corner of my room. I wake up in a sweat, staring at that very corner. A few days after that, I notice a baseball bat sitting upright near the pantry, leaned against the wall. I ask my dad what it is, and he goes, "Have you seen him too?" I was freaked out when he said that, and I just said, "Yes," and he said not to mention it anymore, and he'd go away. About a week later, my grandmom is asleep in a house we rented for the week at the beach, and suddenly she wakes up screaming and runs out of the room. Me and my uncle freak out, and she says there's someone hitting the shit out of the underside of the bed. Check and nothing's there. My grandmom says it's probably the ghost of Rick. No one ever told her about our experiences. Pretty dry, but was creepy when it happened.
Not paranormal, but you asked. Mine was a couple years ago on holiday to California. The one day my dad wasn't with us, my mum and I decided to visit the Japan Center in order to acquire things from BTSSB and a few other shops. It was my pilgrimage of sorts. Anyhow, we ended up with a few purchases, and by the time we were finished it was dark. We held our bags tight and went to the bus stop to get back to our hotel. We would have taken an Uber cab, which is considerably safer, but my dad didn't want to pay. The bus was supposed to come in 15 minutes, so we sat in the stop and talked amongst ourselves as it started to rain. When we ran out of things to say, I was still holding onto my bags, looking at my lap as I waited for the bus that was supposed to come at any moment. A jostling sound snapped me out of my boredom, and I looked up to see my mum being assaulted by a figure. It systematically pushed her against the plastic wall of the bus stop and yanked the bags from her shoulder as he did so, swearing and threatening to hurt her more if she resisted. I promptly stood up and leapt towards her, trying to get between the man and my mother, who was starting to break down and grow weary after being constantly slammed into the hard surface. I had a better look at him at that point, but there was nothing especially defining about him. A 40-something man wearing all black. Before I could get too close to her, he tackled me, slamming me onto the hard pavement and crushing my body underneath him. 90-pound Asian girl versus 200-pound man. You can see who has the upper hand. He plucked me from the ground just to throw me again. I tried to count how many times he did this, or something like it, but I lost my place. I couldn't breathe. When I was about to black out, he took my bags and ran. The bus never came, and we had to limp a few miles through bad areas and rain to get back to our hotel. Still not sure why my parents never went to the police.
I don't believe in the paranormal or any of that crap, but here goes. Years back, my cousin was seeing this chick, and she was staying at her nan's not that far into the Blue Mountains, Australia. There was my cousin, his girlfriend, her baby, her little brother, and I. It was around 10 at night, and we drove up to her nan's house to grab some shit and chill for a bit. Chatting away, and she brings up that her house is haunted. I don't believe in that crap, so I was like, whatever you're talking shit. Telling me picture frames upstairs get turned to their sides and shit. We go downstairs and are sitting on the couch talking. And after a bit, we hear this tapping coming from the garage that connects to the house. She says that that's what she's talking about. We stop and listen, and it keeps happening. The little brother starts panicking to shit and starting to freak me out. I test it out and try talk to it, and get nothing. But as soon as my cousin says something, it makes the tapping. I keep testing it, but getting all of us to talk in turns. Nope, only when he speaks. I'm getting a little edgy, so I go to the garage with my cousin and open it up and turn the light on. There is shit everywhere. Mattress and closets for something to be hiding behind. I look to the left and I see a ladder going into the roof. It's a 2-story house with a weird layout. Ask her what's up there, and she says it goes all the way to the attic. Tell the slut she's a dumb cunt, and there is probably someone living in her roof, and hightail it out of there. TLDR. Either a ghost, or someone is living in the attic.
Went to an Eastern European country this summer. Had some weird experience when I went to visit family who lived in a forest mountain village. Next to my village, there is a forest. Dad grew up there, so he has many stories too. But a well-known fact is that during World War II, a bunch of people were executed in the forest by the KGB, which sits on a hill about 1 kilometer from the village. Everyone calls it the Pig Cemetery, because after the war there were convenient massive rows in the ground, dug up by tractors. You can guess what for. So people would then dump animal bodies there. So, being me, my brother and I decide to go visit it during the day because obviously not trying to get too spooked. But my brother and I kinda get lost in the forest and end up circling too far around the mountain to a side barely traversed by people. In a different country with no cell service, old-ass village with no police. We either find our way home or wait for people to come find us. We left around 12 p.m., and it is now 6-ish if I remember. So the sun is still up, but the trees are dense pine, so it's getting dark around us. I say fuck it, and we decide to just dead reckon and head south back, over the mountain back to our village. The forest isn't that large. It's just a lot larger than what it looked like on Google Maps. It's now 8 p.m. The sun is setting. We're starting to rush. Kinda worried everyone we know in the village is probably starting to worry. We told them we would be back by now, but we are about to fully crest the ridge when my brother stops me. Speed, walking to a dead stop. He says to me, almost whispering, "Dude, what the fuck? Look at the ground. Are these sticks?" I turn on my flashlight because it's a little past dusk, and I realized I'm standing on pine needles mixed with various bones. I then realize we are literally in the bottom of a small trench with gradually sloping sides. We stumbled upon the cemetery. All of a sudden, he gets really quiet. We run all the way back.
I have a story. Take it as you will. I'm not going to try to convince anyone of anything. Be me, age 18 about 2 years ago. Hanging out with girlfriend. Decide to go on a late night walk. It's summer and nice and warm. We go through this big nature preserve by my house. Find a bench on the trail, paved. Sit down and just kind of hold hands while listening to the owls. 15 minutes in, and she's starting to fall asleep with her head on my lap. Hear what sounds like cans being dragged on the trail. She startles awake, whispers to me asking what's happening. Tell her I don't know. Sit in silence for 30 seconds, no sound except our breathing. The owls have stopped talking. Hear the sound of cans again. This time it is closer, about 100 yards instead of what I assumed to be 150 yards. Although the moon is out, it's still very dark, and I can barely see. Hear the cans again. This time they're not little increments of dragging, more like constant dragging, like the sound of cans behind a newlywed's car. It's 50 yards away. We decide to get up and leave. I can hear footsteps now. Walk briskly while checking behind us constantly. We walk for about a mile and get into our street. There's a street lamp right by the entrance. Still hear cans. We duck behind a car and try to see if it comes into the light. Whatever it is stops at the light. I can see a silhouette of something. Seems to be about 3.5 feet tall, only about as tall as the fence posts by the entrance of the park. Can't see anything else, so we decide to book it home. Never saw anything like it again. I have no idea what the fuck it was. I really hope it was just a hobo midget or something. But I felt a primal fear that I have never felt before or since.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.